Part 2. Now that we've read the article, I want to go through some of what the main ideas, some of the things that we talked a little bit before we read the article, and kind of go through this so you can get the gist and make sure you have a good understanding of the main parts of this exercise as far as finding the main ideas. And then at the end of this, I want you to try and apply it. That was one of the things they talked about in the article about making this for your own workout, and see if you can apply some of these principles, which I'm sure you'll be able to do. All right, some of the main ideas. When we talked about the FIT principle, the F, the I, the T, and the T. What did the F stand for?
Frequency.
And you can write that down if you'd like. The I?
Intensity.
Okay. The first T?
Time.
Okay. And the last T?
Type.
Is the type. We'll get some examples later. The other thing that was in the article that was kind of interesting is, do you remember what they talked about and why it was developed and who developed it?
It was developed by the U.S. Army so that everybody could exercise at their own pace so that they'd be prepared to go into war.
Right. So, that's who kind of came up with that to try and get the frequency, the intensity, so they would be able to continue to build their strength and their endurance to do the things that soldiers needed to do. Okay? Can you provide some exercise examples for each of the letters? So let's talk about the frequency part of the whole thing. So what exercise example could you come up with? Even if you just use cardio, what would be your exercise example?
Running.
Okay, that would be a type, right?
That'd
But
be a
frequency,
type.
how often would you,
Oh, 3 times a week.
Yeah, like 3 times a week, right?
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about with frequency. How many days a week? I think we've talked before about bodybuilders. Sometimes they'll exercise 2 times a day.
3 times a week.
So, they're, that's their full-time job, though. So frequency has to do with how often you're doing. Intensity. Now, this way you can give me a cardio example, you can give me a strength example, something that kind of fits in the intensity.
Intensity is like how fast you're doing it, how heavy it is.
Okay, so if you're doing cardio and you're going to run for 25 minutes, you could measure your intensity by, you said fast, right?
By how fast you could go, or you could put up the incline on it.
Right, so that would increase the resistance a little bit more as far as that like. So if you're going to run for 25 minutes, you'd measure the distance probably. That would increase your intensity if you were able to run farther, longer, in a shorter period of time. Okay. And then how about intensity with weightlifting? They gave a couple examples there.
Intensity with weightlifting would be more like adding more weight.
Okay, so that's how you'd measure
Or
intensity.
doing more reps and
Okay.
sets.
Absolutely. So those are all things that you could take a look at in your workout to continue to increase your strength and watch your intensity like that. Time. Give me a couple ideas for time. You talked a little bit about time when you were talking about cardio, so you can talk a little bit more about that.
Time is, how long you're actually doing something.
Okay, so like weightlifting.
Weightlifting, okay, I'm going to do this for 10 minutes and then that for 10 minutes.
Right, and the whole workout could last maybe 35 minutes. Okay, that's what time.
So
As far as
it's
cardio is
short.
concerned, was there anything special that you thought and remembered about cardio?
Not really.
Okay, more of the weightlifting aspect.
More the
of it.
weightlifting speaks.
But it's basically is how long you're going to do something.
Yes.
Okay. And then the T was type. Can you give me an exercise example?
Swimming.
All right, you like to swim. I know that. So that's one of the
Float.
types of things you do. And there's all different types of aerobic and cardio stuff that you can do as far as types. It could be running, it could be anything. So why don't you write a couple of the types down there? Just give me some exercise examples. But that's exactly what we're talking about.
How do you spell cricket?
Cricket would be good.
Okay.
All right. Then next, the last part of the article, after they kind of explain everything like this, is they asked how you would kind of make your own workout applying this principle. So thinking about that, I've kind of put the F, the I, the 2 T's in there for a cardio workout. If you're going to make your own cardio workout, let's just think. We can even start from the bottom up, like with the type. What would you do? What would be your cardio workout? What would be your exercise of choice?
Probably swimming.
All right, so write that down. Okay. How often would you swim?
3 times a week.
Okay. And the intensity and time thing goes together, as they mentioned before, so you want to
Mm-hmm.
try and think about that. So intensity-wise, what were some things that you would do?
I would probably do 35 lengths.
All right, 35 lengths in a pool. And then the thing that kind of goes hand in hand with that, as far as cardio is concerned, is time.
Mhm.
So how much time do you think 35 lengths would take you?
Around 35 to 45 minutes.
All right, so write that down. As a physical education teacher, I have to ask you this, even though it's not a big part of this article, but if you were to increase your intensity with your swimming, what's one way that you could do that? You said you're going to do 35
I could do
lengths and
45 lengths in 45 minutes.
All right, so increase the length, so go faster in the same period of time. That's a really good
Yes.
idea. All right, strength training. All right, say you're going to make this whole workout for yourself, including the cardio. How many days realistically would you make a strength training workout?
2 days a week.
Okay, so okay, and intensity with weights. You talked a little bit about that up here, and the article was pretty specific about strength training as far as that. Really, with intensity, what are they talking about with
Like
intensity?
reps.
All right,
sets,
reps and sets.
So
Okay.
like
So if you're going to make a workout of yourself, how many of the exercises that you do that we'll get to later? How many reps? How many sets would you do of each exercise? How many sets would you kind of do?
I would probably do 12 reps in each set.
Okay, and how many sets do you think for each exercise?
For each exercise, probably like 3 or 4.
Okay. Probably 3. So write down 3 sets. And sometimes they write just times 12. Good. Excellent. And the time that you would spend, I mean,
25 minutes, maybe 30 minutes.
right. A lot of people like to
Keep
get
it
that,
short.
keep short, keep their motivation up.
Mhm.
Again, we've talked about professional weightlifters that can spend lots of time during their days there, but you can get a pretty good workout in during a shorter period of time. Any place from a half hour, 40 minutes, you could probably do it. And then type. So you're going to exercise 2 days a week. Type is a type of exercises. So I mean,
So like all
with
muscle groups.
all muscle groups, without going through every
Every
exercise that we
yeah.
would go through, bench press and everything like that. So just write down, you want to make sure you hit all exercises that hit all muscle groups. So those really are the main ideas of the FIT principle, and I think you've done a nice job kind of applying exercise samples to it and trying to apply a little bit of how you use the FIT principle to make your own workouts.
Okay.
Thank you, Matthew.
You're welcome, Mr. Tillman.